Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football, and welcome back to another Sunday night live stream. Oh, and it is Aggie Hate Week. Yes, right, folks. Got to get ready to take on them Aggies. And I don't know if we've had Lewis, it's never been a Texas A&M game like this, where the Aggies are coming in undefeated, pristine. So we'll discuss it. We'll talk about it. We'll also kind of give you our last thoughts on the Texas-Arkansas matchup and what I saw. I rewatched the game. I'm going to watch it one more time for tracking purposes, but we'll give you our thoughts on what Jeff and I saw. But, of course, the show belongs to you. Whatever you guys want to talk about, Super Chats always jump to the front of the line. You can interrupt the show at any time. You also will try to get to as many questions and comments as we can. I know Cowboys fans are excited. That was a hell of a comeback. I left the house.
Oh, yes, we are.
There was. I ain't going to lie. That was a hell of a guy. I left the house and I was like, man, I'm going to shop for a Christmas tree. We gone. And then came back and I was like, oh, what happened? So Cowboys fans, I guess they get an early Christmas gift. It was a nice win. If y'all want to talk about that, we can as well. Thank you to Jeff, who is joining us. Usually Jerry's here, but Jerry is, Jerry's a little under the weather. But so we are thankful, very appreciative to have our man Jeff here sitting in. All right, Jeff, first of all, you want to talk about the Cowboys game a little bit? We can do that.
No, actually, real quick, I just want to ask you, you got your Christmas tree today?
Yeah, we got a Christmas tree. We got a fake Christmas tree because wifey wanted to get a fake one. She's like, our daughter's not ready for a real one and I agree. It's like, nah,
we had a fake one and confession, because my wife and daughter are actually on their way to Japan for 2 weeks. Then a little trip. My Christmas tree's been up for 2 weeks. So
2 weeks already?
Yeah. Dang. Wifey wanted to get to it early because she's going to miss 2 weeks of the Christmas season. So she wanted to get to it early. So I'm giving myself a mulligan this year. So
have you started playing Christmas music too?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw myself under the bus. We got the garland up and the whole deal. So
yeah. Good for you, man. That's early right there. I've not started Christmas music. The Christmas decorations went up outside today. The tree's going to go up, I don't know, sometime this week. And yes, there will be Christmas music starting up right around the time you get to play the Aggies. Start saying some Christmas music.
Got my Christmas tree cakes in the freezer. It's a party going on over here at my house.
Yeah, no doubt about that. All right, I see some folks out there want to get into it, so let's talk about the Texas-Arkansas game a little bit before we look forward to Aggies. Welcome your Aggie jokes as well this week. I love the Aggie jokes; they're always really creative. It's just that Jeff and I saw you at Kirby Lane on Saturday, but didn't want to interrupt.
I always come over and say hi. Bobby and I were sitting there just either getting ready to do the show, doing the show, or having a little post-show meal at Kirby Lane. So I may not look very approachable, but trust me, it's all good. If you come see me out in Gen Pop, just say hi.
They're the most approachable bunch. Trust me on that. You'll probably be there talking football with them for a few minutes. So make sure you make some time if you go say what's up to the crew. But we appreciate all you guys who come over and say hello. Anytime we're at the co-op, anytime the Own Texas Football crew is out, please come say hi, man, because that's the best part of this gig is meeting the fam. No doubt. That's what we consider you guys to be. All right, let's get right into it, though. Texas, Arkansas. Jeff, I'm sure you rewatched it now, processed it. What was your thoughts on it? Anything you learned? Anything that you're even more concerned about? Anything you're just more optimistic about? Whatever. The floor is yours to talk about what you saw in the Texas-Arkansas matchup.
Man, I'm just continually optimistic about the strides Arch is making because he's trending in the right direction. You can tell the game is slowing down for him. He's seeing the field. And look, I will challenge anybody that would say, oh, well, he had a big game against Arkansas. Arkansas's defense is terrible. Yeah, it is. But he couldn't do that against UTEP or San Jose State or Kentucky earlier in the year. But he's at the point now where he's putting together multiple games in a row where we talked about this last year, Rod. We talked about it during the offseason, and this is where I was excited to see Arch. You look game over game last year against ULM and Mississippi State, the 2 starts that he made. He corrected a lot of mistakes. And I'm thinking, okay, if he's making that improvement game over game, he's able to adjust and improve, then, I'm excited to see what he does over the sample size when it's extrapolated over a whole season. Mm-hmm. And we know it hadn't been linear, his improvement, but you look at from Mississippi State to Vanderbilt to Georgia, going to this game against Arkansas, the mistakes are getting less and less. Those throws where he's putting the ball in jeopardy are becoming less and less. I'm seeing a guy playing with more confidence, a guy that's got a better feeling the pass rush, a guy whose pocket presence is improving. And it's it's driven home the realization for me, Rod. I said this probably after the Florida game. And your offensive identity is Arch Manning. Arch's ability to make plays.
Yeah, it is.
Throws or using his legs to extend the play or escaping pressure, whatever it is. Your offensive identity was Arch Manning. And here we are, game 11, getting ready for game 12. Your offensive identity is still Arch. It's not the run game. It's not a personnel grouping. It's not the signature concepts in Sark's offense. It's all about 16 and his ability to make a play, because when push comes to shove, that's just what they do. They put the ball in Arch's hands. I think it's reinforced some run game kind of is what it is. I think we've talked about that for weeks now. I've kind of been there. I even had a couple people tell me on Saturday at Kirby Lane, like, hey, everybody's running the ball in Arkansas. Maybe the run game will get going. And I'm just thinking, man, that was the same case with everybody to run the ball on Kentucky, and it didn't happen. Everybody to run the ball on Florida, and it didn't happen. Everybody to run the ball on Mississippi State. You get the picture. And yeah. I think you ended up, I think it was like 91 yards on 22 carries by the running backs. If you can get that kind of production overall, that's about the best you're going to get from the run game right now. And then your sack yardage is going to determine kind of what your net yardage is. Where I am concerned, though, is, and we'll see if Anthony Hill is back, I think it'll make me feel a little bit better. But the fact that Arkansas was able to, because Arkansas's tight ends, they use them a lot in the passing game. Bobby Petrino uses the tight ends. The fact that they were able to exploit Texas repeatedly with over the middle of the field using the tight ends, that was a problem. Texas got abused at the second level like I haven't seen Texas get abused and exposed at the second level. Riding maybe going back to, I don't know if you remember, I was thinking about maybe that 2022 game against Texas Tech in Lubbock was the last time I'd seen Texas get exposed at the second level the way Texas was in this game at the second level. And then, man, your first half run defense was
atrocious.
As bad as I've seen it in a maybe like year one Sark and PK stuff was as bad as a run defense. And it wasn't like, it was just one play or one thing. It was, man, it was one of those deals, right? We haven't seen this in a long time where, man, if you look at some of those big runs Arkansas gashed, it was like, man, I don't know that any of the 11 guys on defense did their job right. Like, I don't know if it was leveraged properly, gap integrity, getting off blocks, whatever it was. So you were able to overcome it, but man, going against a Texas A&M team that is one of the better run games in the country, it's got a really good offensive line, that is a major concern for me. Yeah,
they're going to run that. A&M's going to run that zone read option that Taylor Green was running. They should. They're going to run it early against Texas, and they're going to try. We'll see with Anthony Hill. If Anthony Hill plays, you're in a better position, obviously, to be able to defend those types of concepts at the second level. But I think they were targeting certain players and staying away from certain players running those concepts. And honestly, if Taylor Green doesn't get hurt, I think it probably could become more of a shootout in the fourth quarter. Or at least they're able to control the game a little bit more. But obviously it got out of hand. Texas did a great job forcing the turnovers. That's what I said it will come down to. That offense is too good. You just got to turn them over. Like they're so good offensive. They stay ahead of the chains. I think Mike Washington is probably an NFL guy. The best, I think, chance the defense has that Taylor Green, like he did, will make bad decisions, and he did turn the football over, an inexplicable turnover. And then Texas with the strip sack from Colin Simmons to get his 10th sack of the season. Those were really the kind of the game-changing plays. Texas offense, I think, could have kept up and won a shootout with Arkansas. They didn't have to because they got complimentary football in the end. So
yeah. And until this game, Arkansas losses were single-digit losses. And look, we talked about it all. We told anybody that would listen, right? Look, Arkansas's offense, they'll put up yards and they'll put up points. I just didn't expect it to be as easy as it was for them on their first couple drives. And, to your point about, hey, it was going to come down to turnovers. I mean, Arkansas did a lot of the stuff that two-win football teams do, right? They committed just silly penalties. They turned the football over. They weren't clean on special teams. And look, credit Texas, you still got to take advantage of that stuff. And there was a segment in that game, Rod, where when Taylor Green threw the interception, which I still don't know what he was looking at, what he was trying to do, if the ball just got away from him. It was one of the worst decisions I've seen a quarterback make in the heat of the moment at this level in a very long time. Just inexplicable. But the play before that, Murad Watson strings out a run, does a really good job of stringing out a run, and Colin Simmons and Manny Muhammad finish it off for a TFL. Then you get the interception. Then on the ensuing drive, you get a third down where, Trey Wisner stopped right at the line of scrimmage or right behind it. That's a loss. I mean, he basically through through sheer will got you the first down on a critical third down, kept the drive going, and then Arch finishes it off with that. I mean, the best way I could describe it, that was like some Brett Favre stuff. Arch was pulling off with that, where you're like, no. Okay, yes, that's good. Good job, Arch. Don't ever do that again. On the touchdown pass to DeAndre Moore, we throwing across. Basically committed like every cardinal sin you tell a quarterback not to commit in the red zone. He did, but he got away with it because it was a hell of a throw. But that little segment right there, that's some of the best complementary football Texas has played. Defense gets a stop, get the offense back on the field in a sudden change possession. Offense scores off a turnover, and that gives you some separation. So that I wrote this over on TexasFootball.com after the game. Look, the Vanderbilt game, those first 3 quarters of the Vanderbilt game, probably as good as it's going to get with this team, just in terms of putting together a string of multiple quarters, multiple series where you're clicking in all 3 phases.
Yeah.
I would love to be wrong. We'll see if that happens against Texas A&M, but you can't count on A&M doing the same silly stuff that Arkansas does. And you say, people say what they want about A&M. Who have they played? Look, I will respect anybody that goes through an SEC season in the last game of the regular season undefeated. They played everybody on their schedule. They beat everybody on their schedule. The best thing I can say about A&M, Rod, even their comeback win over South Carolina, that one's kind of the one you asterisk because, man, Colin Klein made a call at the end of that game. That's still, man, if you don't get a defensive stop and that game goes into overtime or South Carolina wins it, like Colin Klein may not have been able to get back to the locker room for postgame. He may have been on the unemployment line. It was that bad of a call. But A&M has won games the way you're supposed to win them when you're a top 10, top 5 type team. So I have respect for Texas A&M that you can't count on them doing the same things that Arkansas did that shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah. No, they found ways to win, and they win in different types of games, right? Shootouts, they can kind of win an ugly game. Now we've seen them come back from down, multiple scores. Yeah, they've had an impressive campaign. Now, so I'm with you. It doesn't matter like all the metrics about who they've played and the strength of schedule. None of that matters to me. And it doesn't matter as much in a rivalry game, as we know. I mean, Texas-Oklahoma is a prime example of that. All right. So we'll get to your questions and comments. We'll talk about Texas A&M a little bit. Of course, talk a little bit more about the Texas-Arkansas matchup. Before we do, let's thank our sponsor for tonight's live stream. Before we get to your questions, our friends over at Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. We appreciate them very much. If you have any, issues with sleep deprivation or general anxiety, maybe it's just aches and pains from battling Father Time or from your playing days, our friends over at Rogue Shop, they have so many great items to help you successfully overcome and battle those ailments. They have oils and creams, and flour, gummies as well. Use that discount code. You see it right there on your screen, Owen, Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our friends over at Rogue Shop, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. And also they ship nationwide. So no matter where you are in this great country of ours, our friends over at Rogue Shop can get their fantastic products to you. So thank you very much to rogueshop.com. Don't forget, use that code, Owen, Texas. All right. Let's get to a couple of questions and then we'll get to, there you go. I mean, Rocky Poor, we appreciate that. Thank you for the super chat. What a game yesterday. I feel like Arch's elite trait is becoming his pocket presence. Also, Kate Phillips is that dude. Texas needs to go out there and beat Little Bro so bad they call CBS 45-21 calling shot. I like that. Thank you, Rocky Poor, for the super chat. The elite trait of Arch. That's good. Let's go over Arch's X-Man abilities. I think one of them is just him in the scramble drill. I love his scramble drill second reaction skill set. I still think, in that game, I think you had I think you had one scramble where you actually ran. I think you had like 2 yards, but then the 2 scramble drill plays, I believe, were both on third down. One ended up being that scramble drill touchdown to DeAndre Moore. And the other one was, I believe it's the Ryan Wingo scramble drill play, where Ryan Wingo cuts his route a little bit short. So he's really good in those situations. Like I think that's one of his elite traits that stands out to me. What's another one for you, Jeff?
I think he's getting better at throwing to guys on the move in yak situations. And we know Sark in this offense, like the rainbow crossers and the perimeter screens where a guy can catch it on the move. And while he's going up the field, Arch is getting better at that stuff. But I think he's elite, Rod, at the one thing we kind of thought he would be elite at. When you're talking about those NFL type throws, your deep digs, your deep comebacks, those stop routes, stuff where he's throwing to a stationary target where he's basically going to throw it to a spot and the guy's going to stop and make a catch. I think Arch throwing to a stationary target is elite. He seems to have a real good feel. They anticipate, knows where the window is going to be. I continue to see him be elite when he's throwing to a stationary target, or stationary target may not be the right term, at least when he's throwing to a spot that's not like a yak situation.
Yeah, I like that at NIL, and Rev Share says Arch is this good without elite O-line, elite running game or O-line. Imagine if Jeremiah Loves is running back. Chat's got to upgrade that running back group ASAP. Yeah, Texas right now, I think that'll be probably the project for the offseason. At this point, I'm not expecting Texas running game to grow wings overnight, but that's one of the things I like about Arch's game is he can juice your running game a little bit too, situationally because of his legs, and he's good at sack avoidance. Texas O-line, he should be sacked more considering how much pressure he's had to deal with.
Yeah.
So I think sack avoidance is also up there.
I'll pull up his latest pressure to sack numbers, but they have been really good. I mean, he's, after the Georgia game, I think going into the Georgia game, I think only Lenoris Sellers, and South Carolina's offensive line is terrible. Like as bad as we think Texas is, trust me, South Carolina's is worse. I think only Lenoris Sellers have been pressured more among Power 4 quarterbacks than Arch. And he was one of the best quarterbacks throwing pressure now. But it's kind of like we said going into Georgia, right? Like it's kind of like having an elite sudden change defense. You don't want to figure out if you're elite there. Really, you don't want a big sample size because that means you're getting the ball. You're constantly getting put on short fields if you're an elite sudden change defense. If you're great under pressure and you got a lot of throws, well, that means your offensive line's probably not getting the job done. You're having to make something out of nothing more often than not. It's good for Arch, but just wish the pressure would cut down a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. Because Georgia had 30 pressures and 23 hurries. It didn't feel like that because the pocket presence to the point of the super chat. Thank you there, Rocky Board. All right. Thank you, Joshy Manning. Thank you for the super chat. We appreciate that. Hope you're doing well too. Says, have y'all ever seen a player go from being a hindrance to being the engine so quickly? Arch's improvement has been crazy. Yeah, it's just been consistent that it's a linear improvement now. It was erratic, right? We didn't get back-to-back good games from Arch. I mean, that was, I think, my biggest complaint. It's like, it was the roller coaster you get from an inexperienced player with a really high ceiling. That, oh man, you see flashes of it, but you can't put together a consistent baseline. Now we're starting to see the baseline of Arch, and it's a pretty high baseline of performance. Now you got to see it versus a really good defense, and the Aggies are a really good defense.
Yeah,
really good.
Sorry, Rob. People, when we think back to Texas quarterbacks and we think back to, kind of that game, everybody points out the great ones, like the game where, like, because it's usually a rivalry game, like, oh, okay, he arrived, like he's the real deal. Like Sam, you go to 2018, the OU game it's like, all right, Sam Ehlinger is the guy. Yeah. But I think to me, I look at Sam's game in 2018 against USC. That home game against SC, where I don't think he threw it for a high percentage, but it was a ranked opponent at the time. He protected the football. He took some shots down the field. He was tough. And didn't make that big mistake he was making. I look at that game kind of like I look at Arch's fourth quarter against Mississippi State, where that wasn't the game where everybody's going to be like, okay, he arrived. But I think that was the game where he really grew up. So to me, that was kind of, I think, the start of it, Roger, where we talk about him being erratic. Like, hey, he was really good against Oklahoma. Like,
it was.
I considering the circumstances, I thought he was great against Oklahoma. Kentucky might have been his worst game of the year the week after. But I think so. To me, the fourth quarter against Mississippi State is when we really saw Arch Manning kind of grow up.
I agree, because you've had since then, Vandy was great. Like I said, I thought the Georgia game, he played well considering the circumstances and the situation. And then this game, of course, I mean, some would say the best game that Arch has played. I mean, he did catch a touchdown, run for a touchdown, throw multiple touchdowns. So good to have his confidence at an all-time high heading into the game versus Aggies. Because as you pointed out, he is the identity of the offense. They can't win. There is no path for them to win without him having a great game. Like whatever the narrow path is for Texas to win that game, it is with Arch playing a great game. There is no other way they can win it, in my opinion.
Yeah. And even if somebody wanted to bring up the Georgia game, Rod, and say, well, Arch didn't play well against Georgia. Oh, he was not the reason you lost that game. Arch Manning was not the reason you lost.
The drops were brutal early on. And like I said, he had 30 there were 30 pressures by Georgia players, Georgia defenders, and 23 quarterback hurries. That's a big number. Hey, what's up, CV? Sophisticated Celia. Hey, tell her I said what's up. Hope she's doing well. All right. Let's get to another super chat here. How about that? Jason Washington, 1906. Thank you for the super chat. So our running game issues, it's our running backs, O-line, or blocking scheme. That is a good question. That is a great question. What is it? Now we're at the end of the season and we know the running game just hasn't worked. Crazy, it was your best running game of the season, basically, if you're considering your opponent, the Ohio State game. If you can, I'm talking about an opponent considered, not.
I would say Oklahoma, because you had some explosive plays in the Oklahoma game running the football.
You did, but you ran for like how much? You ran for like 160 versus Ohio State, didn't you?
I can if you give me just a sec,
you ran for a really high number versus Ohio State on the road. I remember us coming out saying, I think Texas might be able to run the ball.
166 against Ohio State.
That's 3 months of preparation, I think. I mean, or I will say this, Bobby said it, and I agree with him. Ohio State, they came in fearing Arch almost. Because remember, that's when we all thought Arch was going #1 overall pick, Heisman Trophy winning Arch. So Patricia came into that game saying, all right, you know what? Y'all can have that damn running game. We ain't going to let Arch get loose. Arch ain't getting loose on us. So I think they came in with that approach. Therefore, we gave you some yards in the running game, too. I don't think they were trying to take that away. They were trying to take away Arch.
Yeah. They were like, look, if Trey Wisner and CJ Baxter can run if they can run for 200 yards, go right ahead. We'll win the game if regardless, because we're going to stop the pass. We're going to devote our resources to stop the pass. And Matt Patricia had a brilliant game plan in that game, I thought, to take away what Texas did. But going back
to the question, my bad. But go ahead. What are your thoughts?
No, all things considered, like I thought the Oklahoma game was the best job you did, because your stuff rate wasn't terrible. You ran for 136, and you had to grind out every one of those 136 against maybe the best defensive front in the country. So, I think OU's defense is that good. But no, what is wrong with the run game? Is it the scheme? Is it the running backs? Is it the O-line? Yes, it is. It's all of it. We talked, as a matter of fact, Rod, this was on the stream last Sunday night. I made this. I'll admit, I was a little bit in my feels at that point and thinking about Sark's run game. And it's like, well, his run game has kind of decreased every year since Bijan Robinson left. And I'm like, well, if your run game only thrives, because it was great in 23 until it was good after Jonathan Brooks got hurt, because I think your offensive line matured and developed. But if you need like a bunch of draft picks on your offensive line and like first round caliber running backs for your running game to really thrive, then you need to reevaluate what you're doing, because you're not going to have that kind of personnel every year. That tells me like it's not, it's too personnel based. I still think, I think the problem is, like, at its core, there's a lot of symptoms, but I think if you look at the virus that is the Texas run game and what's wrong with it, I think it boils down to they misjudged their personnel on the offensive line. I mean, they went after a couple guys in the portal but didn't get them. I think they were concerned that, hey, losing that much experience, how's it going to translate? But I think they were ready, and Neto Moslow didn't step up, and it ended up being Connor Stroh, and they threw Nick Brooks in at guard, who's never played guard. So they never really got the personnel right. They're still, and I think based on the personnel, they're still way too wide zone dependent. I mean, we've seen plenty of times this year, the Georgia game, Rod, as chief example. You shut down the wide zone against Texas, they're cooked in the run game because they don't really have anything to go back to. And I love Trey Wisner. I'm a huge Trey Wisner fan, but he can't do it all by himself. He needs, last year, one of the things that why he was so effective is he and Jaden Blue played off of each other really well.
That's true.
And I think we forget that about the running back room last year. You had a guy that was, a top 100, top 125 type pick in the draft that was at times was your most effective receiver.
Yeah.
But I think it starts with misjudging the personnel on the offensive line. I think it's the fact that I think you put too many of your eggs in the basket that CJ Baxter was going to be healthy, and that hasn't played out with the running back room to take pressure off Trey Wisner. And I think you're still way too wide zone dependent in your scheme. So I think that is a thing, Rod. That's a long way of me saying that is maybe the one thing above all else in the offseason that Sark has to take a really long look at and figure out what's going to change, because something has to change.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's the worst run game that Sark has had.
Ever.
Since he's been a play caller, head coach, whatever, the worst one he's had. Did Wisner put on too much weight? He looks a step slower. I think he did. I thought it was muscle that he put on. I thought it was so. I don't think, from what I understand, Texas doesn't put mass on guys and have them get slower. Like, that's not, they emphasize speed. So I doubt very seriously if they're putting on weight and they track it, right? If they're going to sacrifice speed to put mass on, because he doesn't look that much bigger to me.
No,
he doesn't look that much bigger.
I think the thing probably to consider too is, Trey's been nicked up some this year. Like so I think that's hindered him a little bit. And honestly, I'm not putting words in his mouth or suggesting anything or implying anything. This is just my view from the outside looking in. Man, it's hard to trust your offensive line when you're a really good. I mean, what did we talk about with Wisner last year? Really good zone runner, really good vision, can see the cutback. Man, it's hard to use those tools when the hole isn't there and you're constantly looking for it and pressing the hole and getting upfield and kind of bearing your head, putting your head down and getting 3 or 4 yards. That's not really his style. So it hasn't worked. None of it's worked, from personnel scheme, everything. None of it's worked this year.
If I'm ranking it, I'd go O-line first. Is the biggest issue, and then I'd probably go with the scheme, because I'm with you that I do need more. I've talked about more diversity, more variety in the run game. Like, they just don't have enough of it, and I think Arch helps, because Arch obviously adds another element, +1 in the run game. But yeah, Texas running backs. I mean, Cedric Baxter has not looked the same since the injury. I mean, let's be honest about that. And Trey Wisner just hasn't been as effective this season. Doesn't mean he's still not a good player, but he has not been as effective as he was last season. So I'm with you. Maybe it's a compliment of how him and Jaden Booth complemented each other really well. I'm not sure what that is, but the running game just hasn't worked.
I want to go back to Buddy Pal Chief Big Guy's comment. Arch is our best power back right now. I think that
they do.
Arch's rushing touchdown is kind of a perfect example of where this run game is at, because you try a new wrinkle. You try CJ Baxter in the Wildcat, and he drops a snap. And then Sark just has to say, screw it. If we're going to punch this ball in, we just got to give it to Arch and let him muscle his way in. Like, that's just kind of where you are right now with the run game.
Yeah, I mean, Sark once again, and I poured this out all last season. Right? Remember, Sark, he didn't even with the O-line you had last year, which was a better O-line than this one, of course. It still struggled at times in big games to run the football, but it was a better O-line. In those short yardage power situations, even goal line situations, Sark would get cute. Right? He would try to out scheme them and outwit them rather than try to play bully ball and we're going to impose our will. So you would see reverses, and you would see between the legs snaps, direct snaps to Jaden Blue. I mean, it would work. I'm not saying it wouldn't. I'm not criticizing him, but it showed you a distrust. I don't think these guys are going to win in a straight up power situation when everybody in the stadium, yeah, got a Georgia fan there. When everybody in the stadium knows exactly, I think that's Georgia's different beast. But when everybody knows you got to run the football and you got to get this 1.5 yards and 2 yards, can you just line up and move another human being against their will? And Sark's scheme and big humans, they're more finesse than they are physical, and they haven't been able to really do that. And I think Sark knows that. So what do you get in this game? You got that you talked about it too, right? They try to direct snap to Cedric Baxter because we got to do something, because we got to outwit them and out scheme them. We can't just line up and move these dudes and reset the line of scrimmage. You had a 3rd and 1. What'd you run? A jet sweep at Ryan Wingo? Remember that one?
Yeah.
Jet sweep to Ryan Wingo right there. You had there was a 2nd and goal at the 4, and they had to run the Philly special, right? You basically ran the Philly special down there on the goal line. Like, that's and nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong. I love it. It's fantastic, by the way. Love it. But that's Sark also saying, I don't trust these guys running the football like hell no.
No, and I think the Georgia game was the best example because Sark didn't come out and say it on Monday explicitly, but he kind of hinted at it. And Rod, you mentioned this. This was kind of the theory we came up with as to why Texas got away from the run. When he looked at how the defense started and then kind of figured it was going to be a shootout, he didn't trust his offensive line in his run game that they were going to keep him in. He made the determination, for better or worse, the only way we're going to stay in this game is if we just put the ball in Arch's hands and turn it into a drop back game and throw the football.
Mm-hmm.
And Sark made that determination. And honestly, if that was his line of thinking, I don't know that I would have done it, but he's obviously a lot closer to it than any of us are because he's calling the plays. Can you blame him? Now, you can also go back, well, isn't it kind of your fault where your personnel is in the run game and what's bad? Yes, 100%. But in the moment, like, I don't blame him for not trusting the run game situation.
We are where we are right now. It's like, yes, that may have been my fault that we, like you said, we should have been in the transfer portal to get more O-linemen, maybe another run back, whatever. That's a different discussion for a different day. Right now, this is game 11. We got to get the dub. Who are we now, and what are we going to hang our hat on? Right? What's our identity? And right now, your identity is you can't really run the ball, but the run game, you can't abandon the run game. It still needs to be a complement to the offense in some way. But the quick passing game has basically become part of your run game too. Hell, Ryan Wingo is going to get at least a handoff, a reverse, and how many wide receiver screens in the game combined? Like 5 or 6? That's just run. That was a run. That's just extension of the run game. Those are long handoffs. Because he's really good with the ball in his hands. Sometimes has trouble catching the ball downfield, but he's really good once the ball's in his hands. So they figured, to hell with it. Let's just get it in his hands right now.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Rod. Sorry.
No, can I ask you a question? Is Sark going to run that same play, that version of it versus the Aggies? Because Sark has run that some version of the same play to start the game for the last 4 games. That wide receiver screen to Ryan Wingo in some way. Sometimes he comes to it with an orbit motion. Sometimes he gets into it with a different, like, maybe an exit motion or a cheat motion, but it's still the same concept pretty much.
Yeah.
And is he going to do it against the Aggies, or is he setting them up for something? Like, what is he? Because I was like, ain't no way he's going to do it again. It's like, he did it again.
I didn't think because he did it against Mississippi State and he did it against Vanderbilt. And I was like, there's no way in hell he's going to do it against Georgia. And you go back and watch the play against Georgia, you watch the all-22 and go, if Ryan Wingo doesn't slip, I don't know if he'd have scored, but you'd have had a really good field position. You'd have been on the plus side of the field for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I do like though, Rod, to that point, to your point about doing something off of it, go back and watch the touchdown pass to DeAndre Moore.
Oh yeah.
Arch kind of shoulder fake. They show it's a screen. They show screen to that side. Arch kind of shoulder fakes, gets the safety looking over there. And that little backside kind of post, whatever it is, that little corner route DeAndre Moore ran from the slot, at the backside slot receiver.
Yeah.
That was wide open. So I think that's going to give Mike Elko, hey, look, Mike Elko's probably going to have to waste a practice period and waste time. Wonder what the hell are they going to dial up off the screen? What are they going to show us? What can they, based on personnel and formation and field position, what can they do off that? That A&M staff's gonna have to waste time figuring that out.
I agree with you, but that's a brilliant. This is what I like about what some of the stuff Sark is doing. Now it's a little late, but that's okay. It's fine. He's stacking, right? So when you get your staples in your offense at this time of the year, everybody knows your staples. I got 11 games on you. I know what you run really well, and you know what you run really well. You're not going to go into a game. You got your meat and potatoes, right? You got your staples, the things you can hang your hat on. Texas is an outside zone run scheme. They figure they can run outside zone on anybody. Well, anybody except Georgia, Ohio State, you get it, right? Everybody knows that Sark screen. Everybody knows that the Sark. They call it the damn Sark screen. You're gonna see that once a game. You're gonna see the Ryan Wingo perimeter, quick screen once or twice a game, right? These are staples in somebody. And then so the opposing coordinator or opposing coach, they gonna spend practice periods. All right, we're gonna draw up these 8-9 plays. We know they're gonna see them, and we know we're gonna see them in some form or fashion. And they're just gonna put them they're gonna present them differently, but we know the core concepts, right? We're gonna see from this team. And so if you're a coach, you got to start, because they're going to be prepared to stop them. You got to stack concepts that are built off of that core staple concept, and you stack it with a counter. And that's exactly what that was when he's going to fake it to Ryan Wingo. And I'm sure all those guys on the back end have been prepped. Man, if you see motion to Ryan Wingo's side and Arch turn to that side, there's a good chance Ryan Wingo's going to get the football. So you might as well cheat a little bit and stop your feet and get ready to get downhill. Well, boom, stack it. Nope. Actually, soon that safety bites, all we need is that safety to take one step forward. Stop his retreat. We don't need much. Stop your retreat. Once I do that, boom, we're going right there. And you said it was wide the blank open. That's stacking the concepts, right? That little swing screen they do, they stacked it too with a Ryan Wingo stalk block and go. So he's doing a good job of kind of stacking some concepts. I mean, with the Aggies, you want to do a ton more than that. But yeah, tendency breakers at this point in the season, that's what you got to do. Everything should be stacked. There should be 3-4 concepts, stacked counters, creative counters off of your staples, whatever they are, every one of them.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're coming up on the A&M game, and I think about the one A&M game where he was the OC at Texas. Of all the play callers I've seen at Texas, I don't know that anybody was better at that than Brian Harsin was. Like, Brian Harsin was really good. Man, he will, like, outside zone. He will outside zone. Yes, man. What are they going to run off there? They're going to run something that's, we're going to outside zone you, then run a, flip it to Jackson Shipley. He's going to throw it to Blaine Irby for a wide open touchdown. Like, Brian Harsin was so good at that. But, I mean, this is the week, Rod. We talked about it during Georgia. We didn't really see it during Georgia. Man, whatever you've been whatever trick plays you've been working on, this is the week to use it, because what the hell are you saving it for?
Yeah. Hey, checking in from Bangkok, Thailand. Like that. Hey. For the constant quality content. Thank you. We appreciate you checking in, fam. That's nice. All right. Before we get back to some of the questions, let's thank our friends over at Culligan, and then we'll dive into some more of your comments. But thank you to our friends over at Culligan. We appreciate them being a part of the On Texas football family. Now, folks, when it comes to your water, the water your family drinks, the water your family uses every day, you don't want to cut corners. Why would you? That's why for over 90 years, people have trusted the brand Culligan and the name Culligan. And here in Austin, actually, Culligan Ultra Pure has been serving the community for more than 60 years. Culligan Ultra Pure provides high-quality residential water treatment at an affordable price, including reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, and UV purification lights. Whether your water comes from a well or municipal source, Culligan has the perfect treatment solution for your home. And right now, you can schedule a free water test and save up to $600 when you mention On Texas Football. That's right, folks, a free water test. That's the best price you're going to get, free $99, and save up to $600 when you mention On Texas Football. Culligan Ultra Pure proudly serves Austin, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Brownwood, Pampa, and Plainview. So don't wait. Call Culligan today. Actually ask for my man Michael over at Culligan at 512-339-2378. That's 512-339-2378. Ask for Michael, and he'll hook you up. We appreciate our friends over at Culligan. Better water starts with Culligan. All right, let's get back to the super chats here. Actually, Kelly Hill 6910 says, Jeff, we've heard the OU week speech. Can you give us your best Aggie week rant? Yeah, that was a good one. Actually, I remember. I think I was. I felt like I was on for that when you had a rant. Maybe you had multiple rants that week. Maybe you just
No, there is that one, and I love that some OU fans are like, oh man, you kick a field goal through this guy's teeth. Well, at least unlike a lot of your fan base, I have seen a dentist. I know what the inside of a dentist's office looks like. So no, but Kelly, I can't force it. I've got the live stream on Tuesday and Wednesday, so I'll try to give a good pep talk before the Aggies come to town.
Yeah, at one point in the week, I've worked with Jeff long enough on the Blitz and on Texas. He'll get worked up at one point during the week enough to whether it be based on his research or based on something, he'll get worked up enough to give a speech.
Every year happens.
Or rant.
Every year happens. Like as the A&M game becomes more of an annual thing, it gets back in my blood. It's like the OU game every year, like Sunday or Monday before like the day after a game, like, okay, OU week's fixing to start. I'm like, maybe I've matured a little bit. Maybe I've grown up. Maybe I'm just getting a little bit old. And then usually by Monday night, somebody says something that pisses me off. And
yeah, all the analysis goes out the window. Like yeah, we're like, I don't give a damn. Beat the hell out of the Aggies. How about this one from Justin Yarbrough? We appreciate it. How much do y'all think Sark saved or will bring out in this game? That is a great question, Justin, because I will say that in the Arkansas game, all those little cheat codes that I keep up with that, I inundate you guys with. There weren't a lot of them. You just beat Arkansas straight up. Like there wasn't a ton of targets to motion, targets to bunch, multi-motion. There wasn't a lot of that. They just pretty much was able to line up and, like I said, beat them, and they beat themselves because they had a lot of blown coverages and busted coverages too. Texas had a couple. We'll get to those later. I think Sark has – every time I say I think Sark has got something left in his bag, I end up feeling, I don't know, unfulfilled, dissatisfied somehow. I think I have my expectations maybe too high. But in this game, I think Jeff's right. I think it's the last game of the season. I think all those little I'm not saying call them trick plays, but all those exotics that you have probably run in practice, I think you can see it in this game here. I think you could. We haven't seen a lot of that, honestly, from Sark this season.
You know what? I based on some of the stuff we talked about with kind of where the run game is, and I don't know what you could have said. And I think it's less about. You kind of hit on this a little bit, Rod. That's what kind of got my brain going this way. It's less about saving stuff, like using stuff you saved, and more of can Sark push the right buttons in terms of opponent specific stuff within the framework of his offense that will work. Because you're going to have to use a lot more of those force multipliers against Texas A&M than you did against Arkansas. Like you said, I mean, look, it took about a drive and a half for me to realize, okay, not only is the Arkansas defense bad, it's probably worse than I thought. Like it's
terrible.
Yeah. There's no word to describe how bad it was. So Arch probably had a tougher time in like Pascal against air last week at times than he did against the Arkansas defense. And I'm not joking about that. Like it was way too comfortable and it was way too easy at times. But so I think it's less about that and more about, hey, can Sark look at Texas A&M within the framework of that defense? Can he figure some things out? Because Mike Elko, it's going to be a little more exotic. They'll bring a little more pressure. So and honestly, like having watched A&M this year, I don't think they've. Correct me if I'm wrong, Rod. I don't think they faced an offense as good as Texas. I mean, the only one that I think would be close would, just in terms of talent, would maybe be South Carolina.
They face different types of offenses. Like, Notre Dame's got.
Tommy mentions Notre Dame. Notre Dame at that point of the season. A&M better be glad they got Notre Dame at that point and not the Notre Dame that we're watching right now, because that offense is infinitely better now than it was earlier in the season. So
Notre Dame's easily, I think.
Even if you want to say Notre Dame, okay, it's been since September that they've seen an offense with the kind of talent and personnel.
And they face Arkansas. Arkansas is a good offense. If they stayed healthy against Texas, I think that becomes a fourth quarter shootout if Taylor Green stays healthy. So Arkansas is a good offense, but they're a bad team. But they played them to the wire. They scored 42 points in that game, I believe.
I think Texas can do some things against the A&M secondary. I think A&M's defensive front. Help me if this makes sense, Rod. They're not as talented defensive front wise as they were last year, but
they wreak
so much better.
They wreak more havoc, though.
Yeah,
more havoc. They're like, what are they? Second in sacks, I believe.
Down in the backstretch, they've been top 5 in sacks and TFLs. They've been among the nation's leaders. Cassius Howell's going to be on some All-American teams, and I had to fill out my finalist ballot for the Lombardi Award this weekend, and it pained me to do it. There were no Longhorns, by the way, who were finalists for that thing. Pained me to do it, but I voted Cassius Howell in that number 1 spot, gave him a first place vote for the Lombardi Award. So I think up front, they're individually, they're not as talented as they were last year, but they're much better. They seem like they understand Elko's scheme much better. They just play much better team football. But I think on the back end, there's some things Texas can do to exploit A&M and have some success.
I think, but the Aggies, I seen a question actually earlier about the Aggies and how good the defense is. It's a real third down defense. I think they're the best in the country, if I'm not mistaken. And thank you, Longhorn. The third down defense is really good, and they wreak a lot of havoc. And their rush defense, I believe, still is like maybe top 25, top 30. And I don't think Texas will be able to run the ball that effectively anyway. I say that, and they ran it on Oklahoma, so I hope maybe against another rival they'll be able to run it. They ran it against them really well last year. Who knows? That would be an added bonus if they can. The problem with the matchup for Texas is they have the ability to get you in third down and potentially in third and long, and the Aggies have some really exotic packages on third and long. They really do. Even third and medium, when they know you got to throw the football, and they know Texas has to throw the football a lot in that game. So it's going to be on Sark. I'm with Jeff. It's going to be on Sark to not only kind of keep that defense off balance, but also find a way to get explosive plays. All right. Yeah, OU defense is, but you didn't score that much on OU defense. I'm talking offensively. Remember, you got a punt return. You scored one touchdown.
No, the Oklahoma game, and this might be a little bit different just based on where your offense is, and I think Oklahoma's defense is better than A&M's defense. But similarly, like the OU game was it's up there with the Michigan game last year in terms of the most patient I've seen Sark call a game. Like, he didn't panic. He just kind of stuck to what they felt was going to work. And I mean, there was a point, run game wise in the second half where, man, they started leaning on Oklahoma a little bit. So I think Sark is going to have that kind of patience, because look, they're going to get splash plays on Friday. Like, they've done it. A&M's done it all year. There's a chance that ball arch puts kind of in a 50-50 ball. There's a much better chance this week as opposed to yesterday that their defense is going to make that play, because they've done it all year. But I think it's going to be patience from Sark. One thing that concerns me, Rod, is, and I want to get your take on this. We haven't talked much about the Texas defense, but I want to start the conversation here talking about the fourth quarter.
Please, let's go.
I've been doing, and I apologize if I look distracted, but I've been crunching these numbers. I had to double check my math. In the last 3 fourth quarters against Vanderbilt, Georgia, and Arkansas, the Texas defense has given up 56 points, 542 total yards, 8.1 yards per play, and those 3 opponents are 7 for 11 on money downs. We know all 3 of those games, it was different scenarios, but the bottom line is your ability to finish is non-existent on defense right now. And that was why I had a problem with the fourth quarter. I know Sark put in a bunch of young guys, and he even said, hey, he's taking a shot at everybody's schedule. Like, hey, we didn't get the equivalent of a bye week this week, is essentially what he said, because A&M got that rest. But A&M, Alabama, Georgia, they got to rest a bunch of starters and play young kids. So they put in a lot of inexperienced guys at the end. But you can't really waste defensive snaps right now, because you haven't been very good in the fourth quarter. So I tried to give this defense some grace for the fourth quarter yesterday, Rod, but overall it's just another fourth quarter that adds on to the other 2 that were pretty atrocious. That concerns me. I don't like this defense's ability to close right now.
Yeah, I understand that. I agree. Last 3 games we've given up 21, and 14 points in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I think it's a lot of different things for me with the defense. I think on the back end, my number one issue is I still see busted coverages. And that's happening at the second and third level. So that includes the linebackers involved, because you play in zone coverage, but it's also happening with the safeties in the secondary. I thought your corners actually, I know people were complaining about the corner. I think the corners actually played pretty well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the corners actually played pretty well. Your biggest issues, if you look at their coverage bus, you had over 100 yards in coverage bus you allowed, 3 to tight ends, and 1. Remember that Mike Washington kind of quick flare route right out there, that check on third down. I think it was like a 23-yard gain or something like that. That was obviously a busted coverage in the secondary. I don't know who it was, so I don't know necessarily what the coverage is. I can tell you by watching it, though, and you probably can watch as well and go, well, that's a busted coverage. Guy shouldn't be that wide open. If that was the defense, then you're a terrible defensive coordinator. They should fire PK, and that ain't the case. All right, so it was a busted coverage, and I assume it was on one of the safeties. We said we treat every secondary. No, we treat every secondary like they're Ohio State wide receiver core. No, it's they actually played tighter coverage in this game. There was more man coverage and more press coverage on the outside. That's why the wide receivers didn't really hurt you much
right.
at all.
Yeah, I agree.
61% of those passing yards for Arkansas were to tight ends and running backs. Over 60%, 65% of your completions were to tight ends and running backs. I mean, they didn't really do much damage on the outside wide receivers until later in the game, actually. When those wide receivers started to make some plays. So I think the corners actually played pretty well. A lot of teams are attacking you the same way. What have I been talking about the tight ends for, I don't know, 3 weeks now, 3-4 weeks? Tight ends. What their tight ends do? 148 yards receiving to tight ends.
On 9 catches, I think.
On 9 receptions. 14 targets to tight ends. So you think Bobby Petrino saw what I saw and been talking about? It was like, yeah, we should definitely get in tight. But it was the best game for both of their tight ends. Their tight ends had not had a game that good.
Yeah.
they did not need go look at the games, both of their tight ends. Neither one of them had a game that good. Both of them had great stellar games. They're the best games of the year. I gotta go track it. I bet that's the case for a lot of tight ends versus Texas, because they're attacking the second level, they're attacking the linebacker depth in coverage and the occupied eyes of the linebackers and the safeties, because Texas is really aggressive stopping the run. And the Aggies are going to do the same thing. So the busted coverages, and that's kind of my big issue.
Yeah, look, Texas needs Anthony Hill on the field, not just because you've been vulnerable to second level, but because it's going to be really hard for you to slow down that offense without him. I mean, it's the difference between, no disrespect to Trey Moore or Leonga Lafau or anybody else. I mean, it's the difference between like starting caliber guys in the SEC and an All-American who's going to be like a top 50 draft pick. Like, there's just a difference when Ant Hill's on the field. But even when he's on the field, Rod, this isn't like an issue that would just popped up yesterday. To your point, like Texas has been getting attacked at the second level. So I don't know if it's linebackers aren't dropping deep enough, if guys aren't communicating. I don't know what the issue is, but man, if I'm Colin Klein, I know they love the deep ball right now. Marcel Reed loves the deep ball. They love sending their guys deep. Man, everything I've got, my crossers, my in-breaking routes, any kind of mesh concepts over the middle, I'm running all of that against Texas until they show they can stop it.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. I agree. And I think they'll move the pocket a little bit, because Texas has some issues, guys moving the pocket. All right, super chat here. I know we're getting close to the end of things. How about this from Todd Lacey? Thank you, Todd. Says, Rod, will Sark try to spread Aggie out and run by subtraction in the box? I believe that is what he should do with 11 personnel, or even 10 thoughts. Yeah, I mean, if Sark wants to try to run into a lighter box, that'd be ideal. The problem with Texas is they still haven't really been able to win that way either. They're not really a physical line. I agree with you. I think Sark will try to run, but I think you lead with the pass. You force them, and he did this with Georgia actually on the early drives. If you lead with the pass, if Georgia did, I think other teams will. They'll expand that defense, meaning they'll start trying to cover, the perimeter and the edges, and they'll start trying to make sure they keep an umbrella over that defense, and that'll give you some room to run the football if you lead with the pass, and you got to be successful with it. And that's part of the formula now for Texas offensively is they're a pass first team. In this game with Arkansas, pass first. Vanderbilt, pass first. Even against Georgia, when you had success, you were pass first. You can't be a run first team. You don't have the ability to stay on schedule that way. Right. So I agree with you, Todd. I think that's ultimately how they have to try to run the ball from now on. You tried to do that versus Arkansas, and you had a little bit of success. But what did you have? You averaged less than 4 yards per carry versus Arkansas?
Yeah, let me do that math real quick, because kneel downs and stuff like that can take away from it.
That's true. That's a good point. But yeah, you're right.
Running back, you were a little over 4.14.
Okay, yeah, but exactly. That's against one of the worst defenses in the country.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of who you are, but that's fine. You can win with that. You really can. My point is, you can't lead with that as the offense. Like, that can't be your identity. The identity is what you do well and what teams fear. They fear your passing game. It's Arch. Getting back to Jeff's original point, the identity of the offense is Arch. That's why, Todd, you're right. You start with Arch, and then them focusing on Arch, they got to leave themselves vulnerable somewhere. They'll give you some of the running game. Getting back to our original point about your 160 plus yards versus Ohio State. Why? Because they were going, let's take away Arch first. Let's take away Arch. We can't let Arch get going, because if he gets going, then they got their whole identity, all right, established. We can't let that happen. So I think the Aggies will be the same way. They'll be trying to make Arch's life hell. When they do that, I think that they'll leave you some opportunities to run the football to balance the offense out.
Yeah, and Mike Elko's defense is, again, it's exotic, and they'll throw a lot of different looks at you, especially when you get to third down. But my thing with the run game, Rod, is as long as it's not hurting you, it's okay. It's fine. It's a compliment to Arch in your passing game. It's not going to be, it's going to be a side dish at best. Like it ain't gonna, it's not going to be the main course. It's just not. And we can look at, hey, A&M's giving up some rushing yards this year, and teams would try to run the ball. Again, teams had run the ball on Florida. Teams had run the ball on Kentucky. Teams had run the ball on Mississippi State. Teams had run the ball on Arkansas. All except Texas. You realize Texas is the first team Arkansas has faced, the first FBS team Arkansas has faced that didn't rush for 100 yards?
Wow.
The only other team that failed to rush for 100 yards against Arkansas this year, I believe, was Alabama A&M. Not Texas A&M, Alabama A&M.
That is crazy.
Not Alabama A&M. So, wow. Yeah, it's not – it just is what it is. I mean, yeah,
exactly.
But here's a number that I think if Texas has this number in their favor, they've got a good chance to win. Stuff rate's one of those numbers that I look at. Basically, that's the percentage of your rushing attempts that are either no gain or stop behind the line of scrimmage. Your stuff rate yesterday against Arkansas, you had 5 runs stuffed, 18%. You can win with that. 18% is right in that range versus that. But once you start getting closer to over 20 to 25, I mean, there's games this year. I think it was the Kentucky game. You had like a 35% stuff. Yeah. More than a 30. It means every third time you run the ball, it's no gain or it's lost yards.
Yeah, that's unsustainable.
Yeah. So if your stuff rate's right around there, 20% or less, you can work with that. That probably means the run game isn't hurting you.
Totally agree. All right, good stuff there, Jeff. All right, before we get out of here, we got one last sponsor to thank, and then actually my man Blake has got something for the folks, a question for the folks. But let's thank our final sponsor, our friends are at Rogue Shop, rogueshop.com. We appreciate them as well. Use that discount code on Texas, and you'll get a very special discount from our very special friends over at Rogue Shop, bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. That's Rogue Shop. They have it all from oils and creams to flour and gummies. They also ship nationwide, so no matter where you are in this great country of ours, our friends over at Rogue Shop can get their fantastic products to you. So if you're dealing with sleep deprivation or anxiety or aches and pains, check out rogueshop.com. They may have something that will help you overcome those ailments. Thank you very much to our friends at Rogue Shop for bringing real plant medicine back to its roots. All right, Blake, I believe you got a question for the folks. I want you to throw it out there. Did you have a question about some of our stuff? Oh, yeah. How about this one? I need On Texas Football hat. How can I get it? Oh, that is a good question. Boom. There you go. How about that? Just go to shop.ontexasfootball.com. Boom. That's beautiful. Actually, I like the gray one at the bottom. I've been trying to get Bobby to give me one, but I guess I'm just going to go buy it myself. I'm going to go buy it myself. I think I asked Bobby to bring me one down, and I ain't got it yet, so I'm going to go buy it myself. Don't worry. I'm gonna have that gray one. That gray one's clean. I think I've seen CJ wearing it, and I'm jealous. So I'm gonna get one of the gray ones. I would advise you guys go check out the On Texas Football Shop. Thank you very much, Blake.
And we got breaking news too, Rock.
Breaking news. Let's do it. Breaking news.
Yeah, Texas has added a member to the 2026 recruiting class. Jet Walker, the running back from Georgetown, just flipped his commitment from Minnesota to Texas. That's official. I got in touch with somebody at Georgetown this morning, and it was pretty clear that at some point it was going to happen. It was just a matter of when, but it's out there now. So Texas adds Jet Walker to the class. Look, I think Bobby and I talked about this on the tailgate show yesterday. At the very least, a lot of these young guys in this class, a lot of the guys in the 26 class are going to come in and play special teams. You're going to need them to contribute early. Jet Walker can play on special teams. As a matter of fact, his straight line speed is elite enough that I think he'll get a chance to return kicks. But a bigger back, 6'1", 6'2", 215, 220, really, really good. Again, straight line speed, top end speed. So yeah, so one of the more productive backs in the state of Texas the last couple of years. So it's a really nice get. Hey, if it's a 2 running back class and your 2 running backs are Derek Cooper and Jet Walker, you're getting a lot bigger. And you're getting a lot more home run ability at that position with those 2 guys.
I like more size at running back for Texas. Nothing against the guys they got. I think they're doing well at running back, but I like a little bit more size. I like them getting some guys a little bit more natural armor with the running back position. That's what's giving you problems right now. Is running backs who got some size on them. Jaden Mike Washington, those types of backs, I think it'd be good for Texas. And with Cedric Baxter, I think that was the plan, but obviously with the injury, it didn't work out. All right, thank you guys. We appreciate all the super chats and all the questions. If I missed any of them or we missed any of them, we apologize for that. Please direct them to the gentleman at Coffee and Football bright and early tomorrow morning. That'll be Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton at 8:15. And also, we'll have your Monday night live stream, or better yet, we'll have the Winning Drive, the prime time edition with myself, Coach Bob Shipley, and also CJ Vogel. That'll be at 7:15 tomorrow, 7:15 p.m. So we'll have your PM live stream there. So any questions we miss, you can direct them to either one of those live streams. Anything that breaks in between, of course, keep it tuned right here to On Texas Football and OnTexasFootball.com. Thank you to Blake Monroe behind the scenes. He's been twisting and tweaking the dials, doing a great job. Blake, my wife made a joke about you the other day. She saw your the text come up on the group chat. She's like, Blake Monroe, I hope our daughter never marries one of his sons. Monroe. That would just be ugly. So there you go.
For the record, everybody, Blake was trying to talk to Rod and I before the show started. He was muted, so I just want that to go on. I just want that to be on the record. Blake was muted tonight.
That is true. Put it on the record. All right, great stuff as always, Blake. Thank you, Jeff. Always fun to work with you, brother. Appreciate all the great knowledge and expertise. And thank you to each and every one of you for watching and for listening. For Jeff and for Blake, I'm Lifetime Longhorn Rod Babers. Until next time, hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em.